gentlemen and children of the future. Simon Skinhead, you know. Me not Nazi, me not Ku Klux Klan, no. Some me no racist, I mean Skinhead, you know. Just Skinhead.
Our race, for our culture, and for those great grandchildren of that little girl out there, you've got to bring this over. Hail Richard! We will fight! We will fight! Bring the
The skinhead movement has been in existence for almost 40 years. Every time skinheads are mentioned in the news, it is in connection with violence, hate, and fascism. But where do they come from? Who are they really? With this film, I want to tell the true story of this movement and of its paradoxes.
Nice to meet you, Cindy. For those people out there who don't know, this is Sky!
I mean, I think the skinhead is in there more than anything. First, to be a skinhead, you must love your Dr. Martens. You must love ska music. You must have a right attitude, and right attitude from the heart and the brain. You must like football. You must like to dance harder than anybody else of any subculture. And most of all, I think you need to be anti-racist. Thank you.
Alors, je m'appelle Carole, j'ai 22 ans. Je suis skinhead girl depuis 3-4 ans. Pour moi, être skinhead, c'est toute une manière de vivre. C'est aimer la musique, boire de la bière avec les copains, le look. On aime bien ressembler à quelque chose qui a de la classe. Ça fait partie, c'est tout un mythe dont on a le nostalgie, quoi. Et dont on veut garder un peu l'esprit.
When I met Carol for the first time, she had just returned from Alaska, where she had worked as an au pair girl for a year. She was unemployed and had time on her hands. Carol is clearly a modern skinhead girl. She joined the movement at the age of 18 after having been a punk, and her story is the same as that of many traditional skinheads. She's working class and refuses extremism. She is a skinhead in spite of the weight of clichés and preconceived ideas.
Les gens s'interrogent évidemment. Maintenant, ils vont pas tous le prendre bien. Il y en a qui vont te dire non, mais attends, je connais mieux que toi. Les skinheads, j'ai vu ça à la télé. C'est des néo-nazis, c'est des machins habillés militaires et puis qui ziguent à longueur d'année. Maintenant, il y en a d'autres qui sont intéressés, surpris, qui t'écoutent, quoi. Ce qu'il y a, c'est que c'est un peu énervant à chaque fois de reprendre toute l'histoire, de tout raconter aux gens pour se justifier, pour dire non, je suis pas néo-nazi, je suis pas de croix gammée tatouée, enfin... Moi, je suis traditionnelle, le skin girl traditionnel, j'aime le ska, j'aime le reggae. Je suis une grosse nostalgique de la période du début des skins, fin 60, début 70. Dans les musiciens, on avait Sima Rip, on avait Laurel Aitken, on avait des tas de rude boys, de skinhead, noirs, blancs, peu importe. Et il n'y avait aucun problème de métissage.
Yeah, I'm a skinhead. What's wrong with that? I came to England 1960 and decided to try to better my career. I used to have skinheads coming to listen to me, to dance to me. I was playing the music that they wanted to hear, which was a skinhead reggae or ska. I used to be a skinhead with my pork pie hat and my suits and everything. And they used to have lots of black skinheads. But some of them now, some of them I don't know. Some of them get too old. Some of them going to church now. Some of them die. But they used to have lots of skinhead, black skinheads. But they never fight against white skinheads, because in those days people just go to a dance to have fun and dance till the morning comes. Ska started by boogie music from New Orleans in America. And we start experimenting by doing different things with the boogie music. And that's how ska came. And if you listen, probably you might be too young, but if you listen to some of the old rhythm and blues from America, you hear a guitar, a shuffle, a guitar shuffle. That is ska.
Ska music started in Jamaica. There was a great mixture of two influences. There was the rude boy and the sort of hard working class kids growing up. And what came out of the two was skinhead. And it was white and it was black. The two clashed only on the dance floor and only for the best of reasons. I never saw no sort of discrimination against the two of them ever. It's got such a contagious feel to it that nobody can give it up. As you hear it in the background, it has to make you move. You have to like it. It's contagious. It's like some sort of disease. It spreads really quickly across the world, and I like it. It brings me to my childhood again. Dark clubs where you don't see nothing but movement and not much light.
At the time, the movement wasn't yet a racist movement, and although there was violence, it wasn't yet politically motivated. The image we have of skinheads is that of the neo-Nazis, but at the beginning of the 70s, extreme right-wing skinheads hadn't yet come onto the British scene. At the end of the 70s, with the economic crisis and the birth of the punk movement, street kids become more radical. They are attracted by the rebellious and provocative aspects of the skinhead look. A new generation emerges.
For me, I was happy to be a suede head, mod, skinhead, and mix amongst the whole three of them, because to me, suede head got more girls because he was more classier and more, do you understand, better dressed. Skinhead was more, I am staring at you and being provocative, and mod was, I'm on a scooter, but I still have the same ideals and dance to the same music, which is reggae and Stax, Tamla Motown, to all three cultures.
When I was young, I was quite thin and I was quite weak. You know, I wasn't a tough guy at all, but I wanted to be. You know, and that was the perfect image of a tough guy was a skinhead. And at that time, not many people had skinhead haircuts. The only people who really had skinhead haircuts were either people who are in the services, you know, in the army or something, or criminals. And I used to have a haircut called the hedgehog, which was basically spiky on top and long down the sides, and this was like a football hooligan cut. And I had that for a while, and then I shaved it off. And it was the first time I ever got stopped by the police. I was riding my push bike down the road. I was only about 13 or something, riding down the road with my sister on the back of the bike, and we're riding along, and the police stopped us. And I got searched. I got all my pockets emptied out and all that. And I was thinking, fucking hell, I never even spoken to a policeman until then. And then it was like, I was annoyed about it, but I was also quite proud about it. It was like, oh my God, you've grown up all of a sudden. Do you know what I mean? The police are interested in you, you know? Yeah, it was an initiation. And the thing that I really liked, looking back on it, was the bond that you got. Because you were so hated, you know, we were hated by everybody. You know, by school teachers, by our parents, by authorities of any type. You know, girls would love you, you know, because you were the bad boys, but they couldn't really take you home to meet their mum and dad, because their mum and dad would ban the girls from going out, you know, because they were with us, you know. And everybody had an attitude, everybody had an opinion about us. I mean, in 1980, every single day in the newspaper, you would have skinheads mug old ladies, skinheads beat up black people, skinheads riot somewhere, and anybody who broke the law at all became a skinhead immediately. And some people loved us, some people hated us, but we always got attention, you know, and it was an amazing feeling. You had a power.
Ouais, au début du mouvement, la violence, c'était entre des bandes, c'était... Bon, on voulait montrer aussi qu'on foutait le bordel, qu'on était là et qu'on se fait remarquer, quoi. Et maintenant, de nos jours, c'est vrai que la violence, elle est entre groupes de skins. Elle est souvent entre les racistes et les antiracistes. Et maintenant, je pense que c'est vraiment l'image de skin néo-nazi qui fait que les gens, quand ils entendent skinhead, ils n'ont pas vraiment envie de nous rencontrer ou de sympathiser.
My name is Gavin Watson. I became a skinhead when I was 14 years of age. At the same time, I became very, very interested in photography. And the interest in photography, and of course becoming 14, my rites of passage as a young man, both of those fused, and I started to take photographs of my friends and family from the age of about 14 onwards. I've had to be so careful with my work because, as you just said, the ideal of a skinhead is just, for most people, racist Nazis. You go trawl through the internet, all you'll ever see is skinheads attack so-and-so Romania, skinheads. So that's the whole, and it's such a vastly bigger culture than that. That's the cover of the book. That's getting quite famous now, used in there. But that was our basically our playground, wasn't it?
Yeah, what that was, that was an electric box. Because I remember we used to go up on that box and that looked over the park, didn't it? And you weren't allowed to climb up because they had like a barbed wire going up there.
And the Spencers used to jump off it.
Eventually fenced it off, didn't they?
Yeah. That's just the Spencers.
Yeah. That was New Year's Eve, 1980-81, that was, down at Piccadilly Circus, wasn't it?
Eros, statue Eros, so they'd walled it off.
I really fancied her. The only reason I'm in that picture is because I got my arm around her. She was gorgeous.
You did fancy
Beverly.
her, didn't
Beverly,
you?
her name was.
Beverly?
No.
Later that night, we both got
I got mugged.
Stole his Crombie.
Yeah, bastards. That was my first proper fashion item. I saved up. My fucking nan gave me money. I saved up my paper round money. It was my first proper.
He was so proud of it.
Fucking fashion item. Wasn't it? Yeah. I used to wash it down. Everyone took the piss out of me.
Yeah, I ordered 19 big crusty skinheads, just bang, give us your Crombie.
Every time I ever went to a gig, this geezer, he had a swastika on his hand, tattooed. Nazi written across his finger, and 5 dots there. And he was with this black geezer, and every time I ever went to a gig after that date, I looked for that fucker, and never did I find him.
This one I love. This is one that caused so much controversy about, Nazis and this, that, and the rest of it. But it's basically Melvin fucking around, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they weren't Nazis, were they?
No. Well, the thing is, all that, I mean, Melvin was really a punk, and all the Nazi imagery came from Sid Vicious, wasn't it? Remember he wore the swastika T-shirt? Because, you know, fuck off, the V sign, all that stuff, it meant nothing. But our parents were actually at war with the Nazis. Our grandfathers actually died in Europe fighting them. So this was the ultimate rebellion against the parents and against the last generation.
C'est Fred et donc j'ai démarré dans le mouvement il y a plus d'une vingtaine d'années, vers 78. C'était vraiment un mouvement de jeunes, on était tous issus du punk, avec les cheveux colorés, machin, on avait eu envie de s'amuser, de se défouler. Au bout d'un moment, on s'est un peu lassé de se faire toujours prendre pour un clown. Donc redécouvrir quelque chose qui culturellement marche avec le punk, mais qui est beaucoup plus discret, et surtout beaucoup plus guerrier, c'est super. Le pas à franchir pour radicaliser ça, il est assez rapide à faire. C'est-à-dire que quelques-uns, comme ça venait d'Angleterre surtout, ont tout de suite donné un côté patriote. Ça se voit au niveau des matchs de foot, ça tout le monde connaît, les hooligans. Après du patriotisme à la xénophobie, il faut un tout petit peu plus de temps. Paradoxalement, à part le ska, les skinheads n'avaient pas de musique. Ils continuaient à écouter du punk. Mais le punk, ça chante l'anarchie. Il n'y avait pas une musique propre. Il y avait une musique ancienne, refaite. Il n'y a pas de musique propre. Et quelques groupes sont apparus, qui ont créé la Oi. Et ça, c'est la musique des skinheads. Enfin, il y avait une musique. Enfin, il y avait une musique avec des paroles adéquates. Et quand un groupe comme Screwdriver l'a joué avec excellence, tous les skinheads ont suivi. Mais c'était pas un groupe politique. Rien à dire. Un super album. Maintenant, les paroles commençaient à intelligemment orienter. Rien d'affirmé, rien d'antisémite, rien de pro-violence, rien de trop patriote. Des petites contestations sur la justice, des petites réflexions, et si on s'était trompé en 40. Alors ça, soutenu par une musique absolument mortelle, on continue, on suit. À la suite, c'est des morceaux très radicaux. White power, pouvoir aux blancs, etc. Mais bon, c'est trop tard à ce moment-là. Certains font le pas de sortir de ça, puis d'autres continuent, c'est tellement bien.
And the only man in the world that I would follow to the death came from Germany. I'm British and I'm proud to be here in Germany, and I really am proud to fucking be here in front of the Deutsch people. And I'd fucking like to dedicate this number to every one of you. Because without you, there would have been no Screwdriver. Because without Deutschland, without the German idea, without National Socialism, Screwdriver would never have existed.
Screwdriver, a former punk group, provokes the break. Ian Stewart, the singer who is a nationalist extremist, creates the rift. White noise is born with its fascist style, black jackets, shaved heads, swastikas, brutality, and extreme violence. The Nazi skins are born, and the grandsons of Rudolf Hess spread throughout Europe.
It was music, it was hundreds of skinheads getting together, having a good night out. It had its political side in the sense that the songs were political, a lot of them, but the songs were about being white, being working class, about being downtrodden. It was all our unsaid thoughts coming out. The first time I ever met Ian Stewart, I was travelling on a subway train and we got talking, and I think maybe in a couple of years till we met again, but I always remembered that meeting because Ian was such a charismatic person. He had such a personality about him that it really took hold of you. Even if it was only for a few minutes talking to you, you could never forget that meeting. It made you feel like you wanted to do stuff. My name's Derek O'Connor. I'm 42 now, and I've been a skinhead always in my heart since 1970. I think it's an attitude in life, something that's in your heart, you always feel there. For some people, being a skinhead's been about fashion, or the music, or about politics. For me, it's been about the whole thing. It's been my whole life. It's been my whole life for maybe 22 years. White power to me means believing in my heart that we are different, that we deserve to survive as a race. I can stand in the street and look at people still around me and feel different. And I think that's an important thing, to feel different from other people, from the sheep in the crowd. It gives you a feeling of being someone.
Some of the skinheads become racist fighters. Politics tap into these energies. The extreme right-wing parties appropriate the music. The British National Party and the National Front actively support Screwdriver. Fights break out at each concert. Ian Stewart and his group are banished from the music industry. He then creates a movement, Blood and Honor, financed by the sale of records, CDs, and T-shirts. White power makes a name for itself on the international scene. For the skinheads, nothing will ever be the same.
Ian Stewart Donaldson, who died 2 weeks ago in a car crash, was buried last Monday. 6 months ago, we profiled the neo-fascists as part of our live debate on racism.
This is the face of fascist rock. Ian Stewart Donaldson wants immigrants kicked out of Europe, believes handicapped people should be gassed, and thinks Hitler was a hero. His band Screwdriver are Europe's most infamous neo-Nazi band.
Bah, un skin extrémiste, ouais, c'est quelque chose sur lequel je peux pas répondre. Pour la bonne et simple raison que, pour moi, un skin d'extrême droite, c'est... Il n'y a pas skinhead parce qu'il y a une contradiction dans le fait qu'il soit raciste et...
Bah, moi, personnellement, j'écoute pas de rack, j'aime déjà pas la rue, donc je vais pas en plus me mettre au rack. Bon, c'est pas à ignorer non plus, ça existe, c'est là, mais... J'aime pas spécialement, je m'ouvre pas dessus, je vais pas au concert, quoi.
Moi, je crois qu'il faut pas se leurrer et il faut pas être hypocrite. Je sais contre quoi je lutte et en l'occurrence, oui, j'ai déjà écouté certains de ces groupes auxquels j'ai été confronté parce que de toute façon, à partir du moment où on est skin, on est confronté un jour ou l'autre à soit un groupe ambigu, soit un groupe ouvertement raciste. Donc voilà, ça va pas plus loin.
Well, my name's Roddy Moreno. I'm the singer with Cardiff oi band The Oppressed. We're an anti-fascist skinhead band, not through choice, but because of fascist skinheads, we've been forced to make a stand and be an anti-fascist skinhead band.
Do you want to come in? Thanks.
That's me, my brother Dominic. Duncan now lives in New Zealand. Ahmed, top guy. My other brother Adrian. And that's Mac. He was the old fella. He was the one who could really play saxophone. We played about 3-4 gigs.
On it?
Yeah, and fell apart. In one of our first concerts, somebody started ziggling. So we stopped the song. We told them, knock it on the head. Don't do it. We're not fascist. We hate racists. You've been warned. Halfway through the next song, same thing. Guys guiles. So we leave the stage to have a quiet word with him. The boys who follow us had a louder word with him. And from that moment on, we'd made our stand like. We won't have racists at our concerts. We won't have people ziggling at our concerts. It was our way of letting everyone out there know The Oppressed are an anti-racist skinhead band. To us, skinheads was just simply about being working class, being proud of yourself, and knowing where you come from. So when later on, right-wing politics started seducing young, impressionable skinheads, it didn't make sense to us, which is why we wanted nothing to do with it. If you're a racist, you can't be a skinhead. Because skinheads wouldn't exist without Jamaica. So to deny the culture, which is why, eventually, we call them boneheads, because they're not skinheads. They're boneheads, we're skinheads. We look at them as a totally different... But obviously, the world outside think we're all the same, which is why, when I found this sharp flyer in New York, I come back to Britain and decided to use my renown, if you like. I knew there were skinheads around the world, knew who I was. Sent out badges and flyers to everyone I could think of. Went to concerts, handing them out. People eventually started writing in. I'd send back to them saying, use the sharp logo. If you do a concert, make it a sharp concert. If you do a disco, make it a sharp disco. So people can see on the poster, skinheads against racial prejudice, and it'll make them stop and think.
Politics invade the movement. Rivalry sets in between anti-racists and racists. As a reaction to Blood and Honor, the anti-racists become mobilized. Each group tries to chase the other from the scene, each withdrawing to their respective bunkers.
Sweden, where everybody is allowed to say what they want as long as they don't speak against the fucking Jews.
Sharp skins must die. Sharp skins must die. The communists.
Yeah, the first thing, you don't sweat nothing.
We are people. White people.
White power music for us is a reaction against the crap music who's coming from the USA, who's produced in Europe, the so-called techno music and all the influence from the niggers and everything, the ethnical influence in the music. Our music is plain rock and roll, you know. You don't need to be good to play. It's only to get out the anger and the hate and the frustration, you know. It's a kind of dynamite music. This is a desperate situation. We are only 6 to 8% of the world population who is so-called white. People like me who have lost his wife, his job, the social life, everything. It's the government who have done it. Create me like I am today, because I'm not free to speak and say what I want. If this is a democracy, I'm fucking glad that I'm a National Socialist and I want to kill and destroy this society. I hate the democracy.
Sham would play a particular gig, and there would be fascist skinheads at the gig, Zeke, I was laughing. They knew that I was for real. It wasn't some guy standing there and going, no, you mustn't do that. It was me going, you look really stupid to me because what you're doing is a retro hybrid of something that was pure and you have stained it for life. You have made every skinhead now look like whether you are not or you are a fascist part of a system.
Portrayed as diabolical by the media in a society in the throes of globalization, the two branches of the skinhead movement continue to develop underground. From west to east, the skinhead subculture is the object of opposition, hatred, and rejection, marginalized to the extreme, somewhere between punk and paria.
Sometimes flatter, but always anti-fascist.
Noi portiamo avanti la nostra lotta contro ogni forma di razzismo e contro la globalizzazione capitalista che è in corso. Per cui oggi come Skinhead e come band, come Los Fastidios, appoggiamo appunto Sharp e Rush che sono nati ovunque nel mondo e diamo il nostro supporto affinché il movimento skinhead torni forte, ma a mio avviso comunque è già forte, è già forte.
I think that skinheads are very okay people, but Nazi don't. They don't.
Bastardo!
Bastard! Nie można ich nazywać skinheadami, ponieważ to są naziści i to nie są nigdy prawdziwi skinheadzi, bo nie znają swoich korzeni i myślę, że nigdy nie można nazywać nazistami skinheadów. We like traditional skins very much.
I think the most important thing is tolerance.
Polish punks never likes Nazism, and punks skins united will win.
Look what is happening. It's police provocation. They don't want an orchestra. No more orchestra, punk orchestra. Never, there were never that much police officers like today. I don't know why. But listen, look at them, and look what is happening.
song we dedicate to Carlo Giuliani, killed by the Italian police. And we want to dedicate this song also to the guys arrested, imprisoned today against the brutality of the police. Le scene di quei giorni, quante volte sentirò le sirene attorno a me, barricate nelle strade, rabbia dentro il cuore, quante rive volte quel sangue sull'asfalto.
Left-wing skinheads find themselves engaged in a wider political struggle. Joining that of the opponents to globalization, they too suffer from repression.
Hey! Schifo!
Déjà, t'as un côté de la rue qui est totalement différent de l'autre côté. La rue, c'est loin, il y a trucs bombardés, l'autre côté, t'as des trucs tout modernes, tu sais.
Être skinhead, c'est... Je pense que c'est une réaction contre le système. Contre ce qu'on nous impose, contre la musique qu'on nous impose, contre les fringues qu'on nous impose, contre le rapport aux gens et à l'argent qu'on nous impose. C'est plus des valeurs d'amitié, de partage, de solidarité, de fierté. On appartient aux classes sociales les plus défavorisées et les plus marginalisées de la société. Je veux dire, on est dans un système où on t'apprend à avoir honte de ce que t'es. Tout ce qui compte, c'est avoir de l'argent et avoir une grosse bagnole. Mais nous, on rejette ça.
Et la réussite, c'est ça. Et nous, la réussite, c'est pas ça. C'est pas les mêmes. On n'aspire pas à avoir une grosse voiture, avoir une maison avec une piscine. C'est pas ce qu'on désire et c'est pas ce qu'on recherche à avoir.
Wir kommen aus dem tiefsten Bayern, das letzte Eck von Deutschland. Ja, haben uns da irgendwann mal entschieden, eine Band aufzumachen. Erstmal Punk, haben uns dann da noch für Ska mitentschieden und eben die Kombination dessen, daraus resultiert dann der Street Ska.
Es gibt natürlich in Deutschland die zwei Szenen, die gegeneinander arbeiten und auch irgendwie gegenläufig sind. Aber zu sagen, welche Seite größer ist, ist eigentlich schwer, weil man bewegt sich ja nur in der einen Szene. Also ich könnte nicht sagen, wie viele faschistische Skinheads es in Deutschland gibt. Aber soweit ich weiß und mit meinen Erfahrungen ist es eigentlich schon aufgewogen. Also man kann nicht sagen, dass es irgendwie mehr Nazis gibt.
Nein, gar nicht. Ich denke eigentlich, dass mehr auf unserer Seite sind. Also es gibt auch noch eine große Anzahl von Unpolitischen, die einfach kein politisches Bild haben.
Also ich glaube, das Verhältnis liegt irgendwie bei 60%, also knapp über 50% würde ich sagen, die von Skinheads, die keine Nazis sind. Also ich würde sagen, es sind eigentlich mehr linke oder zumindest unpolitische Skinheads, aber keine Nazis. Und das ist halt, wie gesagt, das Traurige daran, dass trotzdem die ganze Szene als Nazis verteufelt wird. Weil man auch sagen muss, dass natürlich die unpolitische Skinhead-Bewegung gerade auch nicht so mein Ding ist. Also meiner Meinung nach sollte man schon irgendwie in gewisser Weise zumindest eine politische Einstellung vertreten. Und also, dass man nur Skinhead ist, weil um Skinhead zu sein, das verstehe ich einfach nicht. Und
da gibt es den schönen Satz, Faschismus ist keine Meinung, Faschismus ist ein Verbrechen. Und insofern, wenn man unpolitisch ist und dadurch unpolitisch sein an sich ist ja vollkommen in Ordnung, aber sich eben verbrüdern mit der rechten Seite geht einfach nicht mehr in Ordnung. Also da gibt's nichts. Da muss man einfach klar sagen, stopp, hey,
Mit dir wird nicht Bier gesoffen, mit dir wird höchstens aufs Maul gehauen.
Le mouvement skinhead, c'est un milieu machiste comme dans tous les milieux. Après, c'est vrai que comme il n'y a pas beaucoup de filles, c'est un petit peu la misère sexuelle dans le mouvement skinhead. C'est vrai que pour un mec, ça le fait bien de se faire une skinhead girl. Ça... Moi, je pense que c'est à chacune de montrer qui elle est, quoi. De s'imposer, ouais, parce que je pense qu'il faut s'imposer, mais je pense que dans la société aussi, en tant que femme, on doit s'imposer. Comme je t'ai dit, il y a la même proportion de cons partout. Des fois, on pourrait se dire que chez les skins, ça atteint quand même des summums, mais...
Ils sont très forts.
Hello. Everyone's from France. I'm Olaf. I'm Nicolas. What's your
Hello,
name?
Carole.
Carole. Carole.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Where are you from, France?
He was in Paris once.
Hey, Paris, cool.
Some years ago.
La scène skinhead allemande, moi j'aime beaucoup parce que c'est souvent des traditionnels. Il y en a qui sont issus du groupe de Oi, il y en a qui font des groupes de ska. Mais au niveau de sens de pensée, c'est traditionnel, ça reprend vraiment les origines du mouvement. Les gens montrent vraiment qu'ils sont contents d'avoir quelqu'un qui vient d'ailleurs, qui ont le même sens de pensée. Moi j'aime bien ce côté fraternel que j'avais complètement perdu en France avec les skins, quoi. Là, comme je rencontre de partout, ça change, les histoires changent. Ils se posent pas de questions, ils sont gentils, ouverts, et moi ça me touche. Il y a cette fraternité qui vient quand même. Et que moi je pensais complètement enfui, quelque part perdu, qui n'existait plus, quoi.
Also mit der Presse möchte ich nichts zu tun haben.
I filmed these members of Blood and Honor Deutschland in July 2000 in Sweden. Several weeks later, Blood and Honor was banned in Germany. They then went into hiding. This concert near Berlin dates back several years. It brought together British, Canadians, and Swedes in Germany. Such meetings are still organized, but it is impossible to film them. The movement is developing in secret, unseen by cameras or outside witnesses. Thanks to more liberal laws, Scandinavian countries are becoming havens for German and British neo-Nazis. Some go into exile in Denmark and Sweden. Blood and Honor Scandinavia is extending its influence. I am surprised to discover a new generation of racist skinheads who are reorganizing the movement and building on Ian Stewart's heritage. It is outside the major cities that these groups develop and recruit increasing numbers of young people tempted by a radical approach.
3-4 paket där utanför alltså.
Det kommer, ta det lugnt.
Du tror det?
Ja, det är ingen större fara, det kommer snart.
All comes of Austin! ICNB! All comes of Austin! ICNB!
Ursäkta Jesper.
Va?
Förlåt.
Sharpskinners.
Sharpskin?
A sharpskin we wanna stomp.
It's fucking disgusting.
Their face in. We wanna kill them.
You know, if you go out on the streets and if you're not a Nazi and you're only a skinhead, and then there come some niggers and they smack you on. I'm not a Nazi, I'm not a Nazi, and they're still standing for it to not to be a Nazi. He's fucking sick.
Sieg! Heil! 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 Sieg! Heil!
He didn't need dentist anymore after that.
Fuck the Jewish system, fuck the Göran Persson, and fuck the whole world. Smash the fucking Jews.
I would say that the left wing and right wing, that they are the hands of the same Frankenstein body. All the good ideas, healthy ideas for the white race must be accepted. That we are not left or right, we are racist. I don't know, they are losers and we are winners. Losers don't attract winners. That's it, they are the joke. I resist against those people who are trying to destroy the future for my race and for our destiny. So simple as that. Känner du någon av dem?
Ja. Den Necro, den Dis, Enno.
I think racial war will definitely break out in Europe. I'm definitely sure about it. It will not take long, maybe 15 to 20 years. Because if you look now in England, there has been racial riots for many years. And I think this will spread around. It's not maybe racial holy war as such, that you go out with M16 and shoot people down, but you will definitely see an increase of racial riots between whites and between immigrants. Definitely, I'm aware, I'm very too sure of that.
To be a white power skinhead to me is now what I have evolved into since I was 16. I'm now 30 years old. It has become the meaning of my life to be this way, and the purpose of the life is to enjoy this struggle for me.
En général, c'est pas vraiment à moi qui vont s'attaquer les fachos, ce sera plus à une bande de skins. Moi, en général, quand ils nous voient, ils nous sifflent quand c'est des filles. J'en ai rencontré là il y a pas longtemps à la gare près de chez mes parents, quoi. Où ils sont venus me parler, j'ai bien fait comprendre que moi, je comptais pas traîner avec des faves, quoi. Bon, moi, j'ai tendance à dire, ouais, pas peur, mais à chaque fois qu'il y a une bagarre, on a une montée d'adrénaline qui fait que... oui, ça fait peur évidemment parce que tu sais pas sur qui tu vas tomber, tu sais pas ce qu'il va avoir dans les mains. C'est pas toujours évident, hein. Des fois, faut courir vite. Hein. Puis souvent, bon, surtout quand t'es une fille, si t'as un problème avec un gros bonnet, je veux dire, tout ce que tu peux faire, c'est donner un coup dans le genou et courir très vite, quoi. Mais quand il y a vraiment bagarre entre deux bandes, ça peut faire très peur, d'autant plus quand t'es 2 garçons et 2 filles et puis que tu tombes sur 5 gorilles. Forcément, tu préfères te planquer que d'aller en face. Mais bon, eux aussi, ils se prennent des raclés. Hein. On n'est pas les plus faibles. Hein.
At the beginning, skinheads fight in the street, but soon neo-Nazi violence is politicized and goes underground. In Britain, in the beginning of the 90s, Combat 18 is created. They recruit the most violent skinheads, racists, and hooligans. Their objective is simple: to attack democracy and start a racial war in Europe. With Combat 18, some skinheads shift towards armed struggle. Words are followed by actions.
The reason for Combat 18 came about that the British National Party needed a security force. So they got together the most violent thugs in the right wing, not just skinheads, it was ex-skinheads, it was casuals, it was anyone that was violent and would stand against anti-fascists, against anyone. My first involvement in it was when I got out of jail, and it started swinging more to the terrorist side of things, to illegal sort of actions. I suppose we thought we'd be the warriors of the movement. The reason that we've been so quiet lately is that we've been doing a lot of reorganising. And for those of you that have any doubts where the money's gone, it's gone on these. Now, the war is coming.
With the organizing of concerts, the sale of records, racketeering, and arms trafficking, Combat 18 becomes the terrorist's arm dreaming of revolution. They establish links with the loyalist paramilitaries in Northern Ireland. Combat 18 then moves towards extremist violence, terror campaigns, letter and car bombs, terrorist attempts, and murder. The authorities retaliate. Many members are arrested and sentenced to long prison terms.
I personally, in my life, felt I had nothing to lose by going to jail for the rest of my life, which is sad, really. And I think some people do feel like that. They feel they have nothing to lose, they have no life, really, and that's sad. And I think groups like Combat 18 feed on that sort of feeling. But I think at the end of the day, we're really fooling ourselves. A lot of people, I think, made a lot of money out of that. And I think a few people went to jail for other people. It was, I think, pretty much infiltrated by the Secret Service. I think that's been shown a few times now. I just regret some of my involvement. I spent time in jail, which I shouldn't have done, really, but we all make mistakes.
If one wants to understand where the skinhead movement is going today, one must look towards the United States. The Sharp were born in the major northern cities in opposition to white power. The Nazi skinheads develop in the suburbs, then spread throughout the southern states, where their ideas soon find an echo in the racism rooted in American society. Initially, the aging Ku Klux Klan calls on the skinheads to fill their ranks. The Klan and the Nazi skinheads share a common hatred, march together, build alliances. It is under the influence of the white Aryan resistance that small groups come together and rally under the banner of white power. There are now clearly established ties between European Nazis and American racists.
Ketchup they use. Well, I tell you, today the skinhead movement is so strong, especially with the internet. I have conversations every day from people in England, Ireland, Scotland, Germany, Spain, Serbia, Italy, a lot of good guys in Italy, France, Belgium, Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, in one day. Blood and Honor best expresses what I believe and how I want to do things. You know, Combat 18 was in the early 90s. A lot of people were always talking, and you know, the Combat 18 lads decided, hey, instead of talking about, let's go out and do it. The C, of course, stands for combat, and the numbers 18 is the first letter of the alphabet, 1 being A, and the 8th letter of the alphabet being H, AH, which stands for Adolf Hitler. So when you draw it out, it's combat Adolf Hitler, which is, you know, represents a fighting force, combat, in the name of National Socialism and Adolf Hitler. The way it was created, however, back then and the way it is now is different. It's evolved, it's under new management, and actually it's now a leaderless resistance, a lone wolf resistance. And, you know, having a covert, secret group of people. It's a movement that started in England, but it's really grown. It's in every country now. It's in every country. And we have a saying, you know, C-18 is basically the militant wing of Blood and Honor. And, you know, most Blood and Honor chapters or people have affiliations or dealings, you know, with C-18, but it's a very hush, you know, thing. You won't get anyone saying, oh, he's part of it or he's part of it, or, you know. In '88 is when I officially shaved my head and got my combat boots before we could get Doc Martens over here. Well, the reason I became a skinhead was I had originally been a member of the Republican Party, and I always had what would be considered a right-wing point of view on politics and our social environment.
I know. I gotta go get bleep.
And after I did some reading on National Socialism and started hanging out with other people, I joined up and started living the skinhead way of life.
It's hard to be a Nazi girl in the USA. It really is. You get a lot of people bothering about World War II and different things like that. I just explained to them that we're dying out. The white race is dying out, and I'm here to preserve it. Mainly it's education. You got to educate everyone out there about the differences, about why race mixing is bad, why we need to keep our race pure, about raising children. Me being a female in the movement, it's very important that I do have children, and it's something I do want to do and raise those children in the white ways.
Ross! Ross!
You want to see Joel? What's up, dude? What's happening, Kinsman? Kinsman, comrade. Comrade von Kinsman.
Here, give her a mooch.
Moochie,
Give her a kiss, kiss.
Being a skinhead, and it's kind of like being a stormtrooper, you know, and it's like we're the remnant of the master race. We're the last bastion, man, of white folks that have seen, that have observed the racial realities, man, that are threatening our people now, and you kind of, you know, we see a job, it has to be done, and we're gonna do whatever it takes to secure our race, man, you know, and that's what we feel.
Maybe you were. That's better. I think it's gonna. The park is like right up here on the right. My mom said, or on the left. She said we see it after.
You think it's a nice neighborhood? It's not. You just don't know. Just like 2 days ago, they robbed the store. Robbed the store. My mom's house got hit twice. Drive-by.
They shot that car.
They shot this car. We're here to protect our territory. It's not a nice neighborhood in Dallas.
We ain't no gang or nothing.
We're no gang members.
No gang.
This is no gang.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. We need to, like, I guess we need to make people understand that, I guess you got to stand up and do something before it's too late, before our country's destroyed. Especially with the terrorist attacks with Muslims. Shit. I hate Muslims. Just in general, the black people on the street just fucking trashing the, you know, neighborhood, shit like that. We need to stand together and get it out, get all the trash out. And segregation would be okay, possibly, if it would work out, but it probably wouldn't work out, so we might as well just get rid of everybody. Why bother even going through all the steps of, well, let's segregate for a while and then everything will be okay, when we know in 5 years after we segregate, it's all going to be back to this Civil War shit again. So why even bother? Just fucking either get out of the country or nuke them. Basically. Same with gays and lesbians too, because all they do is spread diseases. We need to get rid of all of them. Yeah. Because my daughter wants to grow up a happy life. And I want her to have a happy life. No matter where she is.
Is it going to constant go or what?
No, just shoot.
Trigger each time.
Wait.
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, now you got to jam. All right, cock it. Press it. Like this. Okay, now you're ready to go again. Just pull it as fast as you can because it doesn't jam when it goes fast.
You ready?
Go.
God damn it.
Damn. This is cycled, right? Yeah, all you gotta do is flip that big safety forward. Yeah, it's forward. Filming it?
Yep.
Their struggle falls in line with the new ideas concerning the preservation of the Aryan race. They play on the fear of differences and of the disappearance of the white race. In the northern United States, I was to meet skinheads from Anti-Racist Action, the group most actively engaged against the neo-Nazis. But our contact refused to appear in the film. There are two reasons for this: the fear of being identified by the neo-Nazis, but also the refusal to appear in the same film with fascists. The film now bothers skinhead groups. Some of them are worried about the image we are going to give to the movement. They demand to have the right of clearance over material in the film, which I refuse to give them. I simply ask them to trust me. I am trying to make the fairest film possible. In Chicago, the anti-racists didn't turn up at our meeting. I therefore asked Carol to join us to introduce us to the skinhead scene in Canada.
Au début, le mouvement était raciste, beaucoup white pride. Il n'y avait pas de skin noir ou d'autres races, c'était juste des blancs. Mais moi, j'ai rentré là-dedans parce que à la maison, j'avais pas vraiment de famille. J'avais pas une bonne vie familiale. C'était violent et puis tout. Puis c'était une façon de me sauver de ça. Pour moi, c'est sûr, ça m'a aidé. Ça m'a donné une fierté d'être moi. Ça m'a enlevé une peur que j'avais envers la société. Je me suis dit, bon, si je suis capable d'affronter des gens qui m'aiment pas à cause de je suis skin, je suis capable d'affronter n'importe qui m'aime pas à cause de moi. Et puis aussi, ça m'a donné un sens de famille. Puis c'est vraiment eux autres, ma famille. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui disent, oui, mais pourquoi tu rentrais être skin? C'est un mouvement violent et raciste, puis tout ça. OK, il y a de la violence, mais il y a de la violence partout dans le monde. Pas obligé d'être skin pour être violent, pas obligé d'être skin pour être raciste ou être con. Puis moi, ça m'a fait penser, puis ça m'a aidé à pas être violent, à faire attention à mes amis. Ça m'a donné une identité pour moi.
Oh, man.
Hey, salut, ouais.
Un bout?
Un bout, ça va, toi?
Yeah, ben ouais. Ah!
Ouais.
Salut, Carole.
Toi?
Comment ça se vit? Là, t'as des faux docs!
C'est pas encore...
Ça serait mon genre de me planter. Ouais. 35 ans. Non, mais c'est pareil, c'est de l'ancienne génération de stylistes. Ouais. Moi, je connais avec des
Here, right now, there are the white power skins, the Redskins, Rash, and then those that don't belong to any group. But most of them that don't belong to any group are on the non-racist side of things.
Montréal, pour ce qui est de Montréal, il y a tout le temps eu deux groupes, OK, qui étaient avec les skinheads racistes, puis ceux qui n'étaient pas racistes. Puis peut-être dans le groupe qui sont pas racistes, il y a deux différentes divisions. Ceux qui sont plus politisés, ceux qui croient pas vraiment à la politique, mais quand même unis, vont dans les mêmes concerts, vont dans les mêmes bars. C'est quand même Montréal est quand même une petite ville par rapport à la scène skinhead. Fait, puis en ce qui a trait à la violence par rapport à l'extrême droite, ben on répond avec la violence parce qu'il y a de la violence de leur côté. Donc, on n'est pas pour se laisser marcher dessus. On répond par la violence, nous autres aussi. On se tient debout, puis on n'a pas peur de montrer qu'on lâchera pas.
In the Saint-Denis district in Montreal, the atmosphere is tense. Following several violent clashes, the extremist skinheads are on the defensive. At Chaos Cafe, the rash threatened to break my camera. I can't shoot. As in Chicago, there's a climate of intolerance. It's impossible here to get the extreme left-wing or extreme right-wing skinheads to talk in front of the camera. Both groups have embarked upon a logic of war and conflict, and the traditional skinheads are caught in the crossfire.
Non, il passe du ska, du punk, même des fois du rockabilly. Il y a beaucoup de genres. Malheureusement, les Redskins, les Sharp, ils s'en viennent aussi extrémistes que les FAF. Ils veulent absolument se battre contre des fachos. Puis nous autres, les traditionnels, on n'est pas politisés, on s'en fout. On se sent un peu accusé ou regardé à cause qu'on n'est pas assez impliqué dans leur cause antiraciste. Mais moi, pour être antiraciste, je suis pas obligé de mettre une patch de Sharp ou être politisé. C'est en dedans de moi. Je veux dire, moi, je l'ai tatoué dans le dos « End Racism », fin au racisme. Mais je vais pas aller dans la rue crier « Ah, lui, c'est un raciste ». Non, on le fait, là. Ça sert à rien. Puis, malheureusement, les Redskins et les Sharp commencent à nous renier. On dirait qu'ils nous aiment pas à cause on n'est pas assez impliqués. Vous faites pas assez pour la scène, puis tout ça. Je m'excuse, mais moi, je n'ai fait beaucoup pour la scène. J'ai été dans Sharp, j'ai fait des manifs, je m'en suis collé des FAF. Je n'ai eu ma dose là, de violence. Moi, je déteste la violence.
La politique a mélangé les gens. Je trouve qu'elle est là pour fourrer le monde, man. Personnellement, c'est ce que j'en pense. Ça l'a fourré, man. Ça l'a fucké le mouvement skinhead, man. Parce que le monde se met trop à cœur à ce qu'il pense. Il veut trop un monde bien, man, aussi. Puis... Quand je faisais ça, ça revient décevant, man. Personnellement.
Moi, je suis d'accord avec lui. C'est juste que c'est de plus en plus. C'est pas pour rien qu'on n'a pas de relève.
Si t'es pas un rage, si t'es pas un rouge, t'es pas avec nous, t'es pas correct, t'es un ci, t'es un ça, t'es une poubelle parce que tu n'es pas pareil comme nous, tu fais pas partie de la gang, t'es une poubelle. J'aime pas ça. Le monde te regarde, sont froids avec toi. Non, ça fait dur.
The spiral of hate has invaded internet. In a spirit of trying to outdo one another, the extremist groups distribute photographs of their opponents, their addresses, make threats, and even death threats. Hatred between brothers who seek to destroy, to eliminate one another.
Malheureusement, j'ai des photos sur des sites d'extrême droite avec mon nom, les noms de mes amis. Ces gens-là, les FAF, ils comprennent juste la violence. Alors, même s'ils font des sites, ça va être violent. Tuer les Juifs, tuer les nègres, tuer... Bon, on les laisse faire. Moi, ma photo est là. Ils savent qui je suis. Ils savent où je reste. S'ils veulent vraiment venir me faire du mal, venir me chercher, ils ont juste à venir à ma porte, je suis là. Ça fait 16 ans, puis ils sont jamais venus.
As an echo to this climate of hatred, on the Anti-Racist Action website, the account of an event bears witness to this deep-rooted hatred. 5 years ago, 2 anti-racist skinheads were murdered by Nazi skinheads in the desert. One of them was white, the other was black. They belonged to the Las Vegas Unity Skins.
How it happened? They were both shot. Schursty was shot right near his vehicle where he fell. Newborn was able to run, and he ran a couple hundred yards out in the desert, probably after being shot and or being chased while shot, and ultimately he died a couple hundred yards out in the desert.
All right. It's gonna be $3.
Do you know where's the tribal body piercing?
Tribal body piercing?
Yeah.
3 doors down.
I almost finished your chair.
Lynn Newborn was an employee of mine here at Tribal, and he was a great employee. He worked here for about 3 years. He was a skinhead. He was an anti-racist skinhead. He always wore shirts that had Nazi symbols with the cross, you know, crossing them out, anti-racist shirts. He always kind of preached that around here. He really believed in it. He had a lot of trouble in his past, so of being targeted as racist, and so he always kind of wore it on his sleeve, you know, in his heart to try to get people to not fight and no drugs, that kind of thing. And he was a real nice guy, and all his friends used to hang out here, including Dan Schursty. Dan was an Air Force pilot at Nellis Air Force Base. You know, I think just kind of whoever happened to be with him that night was going to be a victim, just by chance. But I would think it was a trophy because of the 2 reasons. One, he was black. One, he was very popular and very outspoken about being against racism, and they, I think they saw it as a trophy for them, you know.
People have wanted Spit dead for a few years now, and he just kept going anyway, and kept being a loudmouth, basically, about speaking out against racism. Spit's known for being a total ladies' man, and so girls coming to the shop and flirting with him is really common. And the 2 girls invited him to a party, and he decided to bring Dan along, and that's where they were basically ambushed out in the desert by, we believe, 4 guys and the 2 girls. And Dan was shot first, and Spit tried to run towards the city and was shot down.
Dan and Lynn were shot by several members of a local racist skinhead group. Only one of their members, John Butler, was arrested. Sentenced to death, he is now awaiting execution.
Most of the Nazis, or the white power skinheads, started growing their hair out and dressing down because of fear, because since it was such a media, like in the media thing, I don't know, at Spit's funeral there was like 300 people there. So I mean, he was a well-loved man in this town and had meant a lot to a lot of people. And I think the shock of them dying was just like, I don't know, like.
Moi, l'histoire de Lynn et Dan qui ont été assassinés par des skins nazis à Las Vegas, ça me révolte, ça m'énerve, ça me met en colère. Et si c'est arrivé à des amis à moi, j'imagine que je serais vraiment très énervée, quoi. Les skins nazis qui ont fait ça, c'est vraiment des assassins. Moi, j'ai pas encore entendu d'histoire pareille en France. J'en avais déjà entendu à partir d'autres groupes de Seattle. Des histoires un peu similaires avec des crimes, avec du sang, des tortures et compagnie. C'est plus du tout skinhead, c'est une violence bête et méchante. Ça a rien à voir avec les petites bagarres qu'on avait nous, avec les courses poursuites dans les rues et ça restait marrant. C'était une montée d'adrénaline, c'était drôle. Et bon, souvent t'as les chocottes, t'as les boules, mais tu t'en sors tout le temps, quoi. Alors que là, il y a des morts. Alors ces gens-là, ils sont morts pour leurs idées antiracistes, quoi. Ou parce qu'ils étaient noirs et skin. Enfin, c'est pas des raisons pour tuer quelqu'un, moi, je pense.
Symbolic sacrifice, fratricide murder. I remember the Bible and the story of Cain and Abel, of the two brothers and of the hatred that pushes one to kill, to eliminate the other. In Las Vegas, the anti-racist skinhead scene did not outlive this crime. Many members left the movement. Ironically, the white power skinheads returned to the region. Today on internet we find the site of the Las Vegas skinheads, young neo-Nazis who extol white power. As in the Bible, here the sons of Cain have returned, whereas the anti-racists have left no heirs.